Hey, this is Sean, Donnie, and Steve over here at the Oakland Cemetery. We're over here at the McCready's, McCready's stone. Um, got Lee McCready, Amanda McCready, and then the stone that we're actually going to work on is Chatherine McCready. There's a couple of unknowns with this stone. Imagine if this is the stone right here. It is pretty far deep. As you can see, it's not as level with the other three. And then behind me, you got this giant tree. And so when we were clearing the base, of the stone, we noticed like a large root coming into the back of the stone. So a couple of things you want to do is that even though we're able to move the stone back and forth, as we're raising it up, we'll just take aware of the obstacles that we faced initially, and then we're going to raise it up. We actually have our 10-foot tripod set up. It's a lighter stone. We got our chain fall, and then what we're going to do, we already dug around the base, as you can see right here, and then we're going to slowly raise her up, and we'll meet you in the next cut, or we'll just keep rolling while we bring her up. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and try to raise her up, and then if there's any sort of obstacles or whatnot, you just want to pause and then continue on. So Donnie's going to raise her up.
It's a lot of wind.
Yeah, we'll see how that audio comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. And one of the things that you want to see that Donnie's being careful about, like because we're using a chain fall, he's keeping the chain away from the stone so that way it doesn't chip the back of the stone. And we talked about the root earlier being on the back of the stone. As we were coming up, we just made sure that the root was not affecting the back of the stone. And then as you saw, the pull was, once we got, we broke free of the friction area, the stone came up fairly easily, and now we caught it in a floating condition, which we know we can make it mobile. That's where we fill in the dirt, pack the dirt, and then reset the stone for level for the vertical and the horizontal. All right, we got our tripod all set up. As you can see, the stone that we had for Miss Chatherine McCready is down behind us. Usually we'll have the stone set up, we'll fill our dirt and call it a day. One of the things that we pointed out at the beginning of the video is that there was a root that was on the back side of the stone. We thought we cleared the stone, or the stone should clear as we lifted, and of course it did. But what we noticed that this foundation portion right here is actually still on the bottom. And the only reason we picked that off is where the stone is, we noticed that there are two pins. So where the two pins are, that's where the foundation stone comes in. And we actually used our probing tool right here. And I'm not going to go too hard, but you might be able to hear it. So we noticed that you have the foundation stone there. So what we're going to do, that every stone is different in its own way. So what we're going to plan for is we're going to dig all the way around and try to see if we can secure that foundation stone and raise that up. We'll have to fill the dirt under and then reset the stone. It won't be as easy because we have to figure out the pin lengths and whatnot. So we may be coming back to this video as far as resetting the stone on a future date, but here we go. So Steve, Sean, and Donnie back here at Oakland Cemetery, and we're at McCready's site. A couple of things that we saw. We mentioned the word root before when we were removing the stone. We were actually raising the stone. Not even raising the stone, clearing the dirt just to make sure all the interference is gone. The stone came up clearly, but then the foundation was actually under that, buried, and what may have caused that separation was some of the root that was holding the foundation of the stone, which you're going to see Donnie raise up here in a second. And even a giant root like this, but of course you might have a nice setting under a tree shade, but the obstacles that you have to face are roots like this. And a couple things to keep in mind too, you're kind of finding Mother Nature. One of the things that we found when we raised the stone is that we saw some cracks on the bottom of the actual the headstone. So where the pins are, we saw cracks on the end, and then where the foundation is, it's actually broke or it's not broke, it's just a clean surface. So what we're going to do, Donnie's going to actually raise the stone up. We're going to put our fill in. Once the fill's in place, we're going to set the foundation stone, and then after that we have to, we're probably going to set Miss Catherine's actual headstone against the tree, so that way it's in a presentable fashion until we actually find a way to reset her stone on top of the foundation. So we'll catch you, actually we'll start raising the stone right now. Go ahead, Donnie. So the stone that you're seeing being raised up right now, the foundation, that whole piece was just buried in the ground, probably another 12 inches of what we're seeing. And I'll grab the other side right here, Don. All right. Actually, we'll carry it up higher. Down. Steve, do you want that stone set to the side, or just keep it up till we fill it and then set it back down?
Yeah, we'll set it back down.
All right, so what we're going to do next, in the next video that you see, or the next portion of this video, we're going to fill. As you can see, we have a lot, probably about 3 cubic feet of dirt and fill that we need to put in place. We're going to set the foundation stone on, verify its level, and then we're going to set Miss Catherine's stone against the tree, and until we come up with the solution to put the pins in and give her a solid foundation. All right, we'll see you in the next clip. So Sean got Donnie, Steve behind the camera. Still, we're working Miss Catherine's stone, Chatherine McCready. Basically, the only thing we have right now is the foundation, and as you can see, the pit right here has been filled, and Mr. Donnie and Steve have packed the dirt. And what we did is we packed it, but at the same time, when you're going to put a heavy object down, its weight alone will kind of offset your level. So we're going to set the stone down, make sure it's in line with the stone to its right, to your left. And then as we're lowering the stone, one of the things that we pointed out is that there's two holes on it, and even though we had a break in one, is that you want to verify the orientation is correct, because if the headstone that's coming in has 2 pins, we'll say that the pin on the left is broken. So if the pin on the left is broken, it's probably broken on the seat also. So then when you reset the stone, you want to make sure that this is oriented correctly and not reversed, because then you'll be fighting the void. And then the other thing is, because we know that we have to reset the stone and epoxy it, Catherine's stone, we set it on the ground and actually off the ground so it remains dry and clean. So then when we actually put the epoxy, we'll have a clean surface for that epoxy to go onto. So right now we're going to start lowering that the foundation down, and we'll keep on going. Oh, actually, we're going to turn it. Oh, raise it up, because this side has to go up front. All right, raise it up. That's good though. Now go ahead and lower it. The other direction. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're good.
I still got the camera rolling.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay.
Keep on going. So now I'm going to get the nylon off. So the nylon's off. And when I move this, if you can take the wedges out.
Looks good, man.
All right. So now we got our stone foundation set, and then we'll actually catch up with you on when we actually finish up Miss Catherine's stone.
Okay, there you go.
Good morning. This is Sean We got Mr. Steve behind the camera. We're over here at Oakland Cemetery at the stone of Miss Chatherine McCready. In our first cut on our video, you probably saw that this stone was way buried under this tree, and one of the things that we had to do is that there was a root that effectively separated the, when the stone was sunk down, there was a root that had separated the headstone from the foundation stone. So that was one of the anomalies that we had. And another thing is when we raised the stone, as well as the, removing the foundation, the pins on the bottom of the stone were basically like, it was like a hollow pipe. So kind of what you see here, there's two hollow pipes, and then what would be that the top stone would fit in, and that's how you would secure the headstone. The problem that we had though is that the pipe was effectively rusted out and just damaged to where if we were to set the stone with the existing material, there wasn't enough thread, or if you would say like all thread or rebar, to secure it into the stone. So what we had to do is that, I'm just going to give you general measurements here. So on the base of the foundation, if this hole here was a 1/2 inch, initially I would have thought like, oh, you want to put a thread that's going to fit in perfect, so it's snug. You can run into a lot of problems with that. So if you add a 1/2 inch, I'm going to tell you what we did, and then kind of things that you want to be aware of if you're trying to do this yourself. So if this is a 1/2 inch diameter, and you got a 1/2 inch all thread, it's not going to fit, or it fit very snug. So we used a piece of all thread. It's just something you can find at your hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, anything like that. And it was cut down to length, and Mr. Harmon cut these to size that way. If you made it too long, when you reset the stone's going to sit off the actual foundation. So instead of sitting flush with the stone, it's going to be offset. So he cut these down to size, and then you have to get a smaller diameter thread than the actual hole itself, and there's a number of reasons for that. And just as grossly over viewed here, but you have a 1/2 inch, and then you have a 3/8 inch all thread, and when it goes into the foundation, there's plenty of play for the stone to work. And why is that a good thing? Today's weather is about 45 degrees out here in Newport News.
And the wind's blowing.
And the wind's blowing, so plenty of character building today. So we have the all thread, and what will happen over time, if you use a piece of thread or rebar that was perfectly fit in here, what happens, like when we're out here cutting in the summer, August, where it's like 90+ degrees, you effectively double the temperature, and then that metal will expand. If it is a perfect fit to the stone, over time, that expansion and contraction, no matter how small, can actually physically crack the stone. And of course weaken the foundation, whether it be the foundation stone or the headstone itself. So what we did, we got a smaller size rebar, or a smaller size all thread. We repositioned that, placed in the hole, and if you can see it, there's plenty of flexibility into the, there's plenty of play, so that's a good thing. And then because of the threads that are on the all thread, when we put the epoxy in, that will allow the stone to have more of a grip, or the epoxy to have more grip on the all thread. And then finally, what you're going to see in the next cut is that while we're lowering the stone, it's going to fit over the pins. And then before we do that, we already did a test fit before, and also the foundation is level. We're going to put epoxy around the base, and what you want to do when you're putting epoxy or any type of sealant is that if this is the foundation base, my initial thoughts were like you put it on the outside, but what happens when you get the main stone, it's going to squeeze it. So if you remember back in school, your elementary days, all that glue would just come off to the side. But what you want to look for is you want to get it, instead of putting it on the edge, just put it maybe an inch or two based off of how much you use towards the center. And we're also going to put some epoxy around where the pins are, where the dowel pins are, or in this case the all thread, and that will secure water or anything to get into those threads and preventing that screw to rust out, or giving it some a little bit longer life. And then what happens when the main stone comes down, it's going to squeeze that bead of epoxy, and that will allow you to have a layer to prevent the environmentals like the rain, water, precipitation from entering the stone. The final thing is we did a lot of work to get the foundation adjusted and level. So when we did our test fit on the headstone, we're just going to use this piece of wood here to make a very minor adjustment based off of when you put the epoxy on. You may be out of level just a slight bit. So we're going to use this tool to kind of brace against the stone, and that should give us a perfect level on this McCready stone. All right, we'll see you in the next cut. All right, guys and girls out there, we're back at the site of Miss Chatherine McCready's gravesite with the final raise and reset. As you can see, the stone is 8 inches off the ground. It was pretty much buried from here all the way down with a tree root preventing this side of the stone from coming up. And that's what we think actually physically separated the stone in the first place when it was in the ground, which also made it very difficult for it to raise. So after a couple weeks worth of work, the stone is reset and raised. We put the initial bead of epoxy on the bottom layer, and then we did get some squeeze out of there, so we have cleaned that up. And then what we're going to come back later on and do is fill out the sides, and we're going to fill out the sides with an epoxy, and what that does, that prevents any of the environmentals from coming into the actual stone base itself. And if you remember, we were talking about the dowel pins, or the all thread in this case, that's going to hold the stone in place. You just want to make sure that you try to give as much long life to those as possible, and that's what that epoxy kind of does. And then this piece of wood, you might be able to see like a fragment of it on the back side, and what that's going to do is that as the stone, it was pretty level as is, but to make it as perfect as possible, while the glue is hardening, or the epoxy is hardening, that little piece of wood is holding or bracing the back of the stone so it stays level. Even though it's a windy day, that's going to keep it level. In the meantime, and then the next time you see this cut, the epoxy should be hardened, and we'll come back with the cleaning of the stone later on in the future. So that completes that one. We'll see you on the next one.